White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany roasted the media yesterday at the press conference over their false reporting of coronavirus. Nancy Pelosi confirmed that Democrats don't care about law and order at all. Plus, CNN's Chris Cuomo has a theory on why violent crime is on the rise. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, welcome to the show. Happy Friday. I hope you've had a great week. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to start with yesterday's press conference because White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany got a ton of questions. She roasted CNN and NBC over their false reporting of coronavirus, but that was just one of many questions. And every single one shows that the media is not out to get the facts. It's not out to present both sides so people can make a decision. They've made their decision. They know where they stand, and everything is to advance that agenda to make President Trump look bad or advance a left-wing narrative. That's what they do, question after question after question. Here's an example. President Trump held a gathering, made a statement, wants to get schools reopened. That's just not based on his desires. That's based on pediatricians. That's based on the statistics that show coronavirus doesn't affect young kids. All of this information is out there, and yet they keep asking questions. Now he wants to reopen schools, which goes against the lockdown narrative. Here's one of the questions from yesterday.
North Carolina, for instance, has seen a record high number of coronavirus-related hospitalizations, more than 1,000 today, and that's a 5-day rising count for those hospitalizations. So it's the White House's position that schools in North Carolina and hard-hit areas by coronavirus should absolutely reopen next month.
All right, I use that example because the media have been briefed on coronavirus and children. They know the stats. They know the numbers. They know the opinions of the pediatricians. They know that it's okay, but they are advancing this narrative. And that's why now you don't hear about deaths, you hear about cases. Cases are spiking. Cases are going up. Even in this case, when she talks about hospitalizations, elective surgeries are reopened. People are going back to the hospital for other reasons than suffering from coronavirus. Now, because the kids are getting it, young adults are getting it, and not being sick, they might go in, they get tested to have coronavirus. That's listed as a coronavirus hospitalization, even if they're not suffering from it at all. Even if they're in the hospital for something else, that's a coronavirus hospitalization. They know that. They're still asking. So Kayleigh McEnany said, yes, we do want to open the schools in the fall. Then she quoted Dr. Robert Redfield, who heads the CDC, who also briefed reporters the other day. And here's what she said.
This virus has a very limited effect on kids. He went on to say, unlike the flu, kids are not driving the transmission cycle. He's in agreement with Dr. Scott Atlas, a former chief of neuroradiology at Stanford, who said children under 18 have virtually zero risk of death from COVID, virtually zero risk of serious illness.
So solid answer. Those are the facts. But you know how the reporter followed up? By asking the same question again.
Again, North Carolina, where they have been hard hit. You think that they should absolutely reopen next month?
All right, McEnany's response to the exact same question? Yes, this is what we want to do. We want to get the schools reopened. Then she moved on to hydroxychloroquine because as soon as President Trump touted that as a treatment that helps people based on medical evidence, based on reports from physicians, the media jumped on it. You can't do that. It's bad. People will die. Then there was this study in the Lancet that seemed bogus from the beginning, but because it took an opposite opinion of the president, the media picked a side. And they picked the side of this journal, and they went full on, touting how great it was, touting how awesome it was. Turned out the study was bogus. It had to be retracted. And here's the statement.
Many in the media pounced on this Lancet study, and it questioned hydroxychloroquine. And you had folks like NBC's Glenn Kirshner saying the president should resign over the Lancet study questioning hydroxychloroquine. And
so she calls out NBC News, and with good reason. They call on the president to resign because he promotes a treatment that has been backed up by medical science, backed up by physicians who have used it. There's no vaccine out there. They have to treat patients. They're treating them with this, and it's working. He talks about it, and NBC News says they should resign. But she left her best comments for CNN.
CNN spent over 90 minutes heralding the study that's now debunked, that has been detracted. But what we have found, though the Lancet study has been retracted, we have seen a Henry Ford Health System study. And that Henry Ford Health System study showed that it is very promising, leading CNN to now tweet a surprising new study found that the controversial anti-malarial drug hydroxychloroquine helped COVID-19 patients better survive.
So 90 minutes presenting a story, promoting an idea that was debunked and retracted. People saw that this report was bogus from the beginning. It had all sorts of red flags, yet CNN didn't care. They wanted to promote this message, and then it comes out, it's retracted. Oh yeah, now there's a new study that shows hydroxychloroquine actually helps, it's actually good, and so they report that one. First they attack President Trump, and then, so they don't put their foot totally in their mouth, they say, yeah, I guess it's okay. That's the media right there. And thankfully, we've got Kayleigh McEnany in there taking it to them because no one has in the past. And it's just awesome that they are taken to task for this bogus reporting and false narrative that they keep promoting. It's absolutely outrageous. So next, we're going to talk about Nancy Pelosi. But if you love the show, if you're new to the show, please subscribe. And when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified. We are making our push for 100,000 subscribers by Election Day. 100K by Election Day. We can do it with your help. Just hit that button. So next, we're going to talk about Nancy Pelosi because her and Joe Biden, they're the leaders of the party. And that says a lot right there because neither one of them can put a coherent sentence together. Joe Biden is basically hiding in his basement. He won't take questions from reporters. He barely goes out. There's questions now if he's even going to debate because he knows that he'll get trashed. It will get raked over the coals by President Trump, and everyone is scared to death on what he'll say. Well, Nancy Pelosi isn't much better. These people have become stooges of the far left, just up there talking nonsense. Yesterday at her press conference, she was asked about the destruction of statues. In particular, one that happened in Baltimore over the weekend, where a statue of Christopher Columbus was just torn down, and thrown in the water. Just thrown away, destroyed. She was asked about it, and here's how she started.
Well, I'm not a big, I don't even have my grandmother's earrings. I'm not a big, let's see what we have in terms of monuments in this.
She doesn't even have her grandmother's earrings? What kind of response is that? What does that have to do with rioters and looters and vandals? What does that have to do with law and order? It's just nonsensical. So then a reporter actually asked the direct question.
Respectfully, shouldn't that be done by a commission or the city council, not a mob in the middle of the night throwing it into the harbor?
So that was a good question. Here's Nancy Pelosi's response.
People will do what they do. I do think that from a safety standpoint, it would be a good idea to have it taken down if the community doesn't want it.
People will do what they do. That's her response. People will do what they do. What kind of response is that? How is this someone who's supposed to uphold the Constitution? Someone who's supposed to uphold the rule of law? Lawlessness runs counter to that, Nancy Pelosi. People will do what they do. What about calling out these lawbreakers? And the second part of her response, I think, was even worse than the first. From a safety standpoint, we shouldn't do this. That means if the rioters and looters can destroy a statue safely, then it's okay. But they might put themselves at risk by breaking the law, by tearing down a statue. So maybe they should leave it to other people. That's her response, folks. It has nothing to do with law and order. It has nothing to do with right and wrong. The Democrats refuse to call these people out. And we have to have law and order before we can have discussions on what we should do with statues around the country. And that leads us to our next segment, which is CNN's Chris Cuomo, because he tried on a show earlier this week to say that crime isn't rising, that it's not going up, that it's no big deal. We're not seeing that. Well, obviously that's wrong. The riots from George Floyd led to immediate deaths. I mean, people were killed. Cops were killed. businesses were destroyed. And it's gone on and on and on. Every weekend, dozens of people shot, more and more killed, including children last weekend, 6 across the country in black neighborhoods. But according to him, crime's not going up. Well, he tried to step back from that since it's so outrageous. And here's a report from the Daily Caller. CNN's Chris Cuomo admitted Wednesday evening that homicides are rising, but appeared to place the blame on states reopening rather than ongoing protests calling to defund the police. Cuomo, alongside CNN's Don Lemon, mocked right-wing media just one day earlier for reporting on rising crime in major cities, although statistics show that many cities have indeed seen rising crime. Cuomo appeared to backtrack Wednesday, admitting that homicides are spiking, but claiming it's due to reopening the economy. Folks, we've got riots and looting and vandalism that have gone on since George Floyd. They are escalating. We see what's happening in the black neighborhoods. And he says it's because because we're reopening the economy. I mean, don't you have to have a small amount of intelligence to do this job? CNN is actually paying this guy, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. And here's more. But let's see how Miss I Won't Lie to You, that's White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, and the rest of Team Trump feel after we drop some truth on their roof, Cuomo said. The increases started in June. You say, hey, wasn't that about the same time as the protests, all those calls to defund the police? That's got to be the reason. See, you turn on the cops and the criminals run wild. That's why she wants questions about it, to say that, right? But what else started in June? Well, states started lifting stay-at-home orders now, didn't they? Well, you don't know that that's what it was. Okay, why in April and May, when businesses were closed and we were forced to stay home, were homicides down? Here's the thing. In certain areas like New Orleans, even with stay-at-home, they were spiking. In CHOP in Seattle, this no police zone that was supposed to be a utopia, crime up 525%. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And of course it's spiking now. We see it across the country. The big deal that we're seeing now that is a warning for the future is the fact that Democrats and the left, the media, will not speak out about lawlessness. These people are emboldened. In the heat of riots, they burned buildings down. They hurt people. They destroyed property. Went unchecked. Nothing was done about it. They even were praised for peacefully protesting, even when it turned into riots. No one talked about that part. Now that's led to destroying monuments and statues, defacing things, vandalizing. No one's saying anything about that either. So why wouldn't you feel emboldened? If you could just go loot a store, if you can tear down a statue, and none of these Democrat leaders are going to do anything about it, these people are going to do more. There's going to be more of it. It's going to keep going because no one stands up for law and order except, it seems, President Trump. And you've got Chris Cuomo talking about this. What? Just, Fredo, dude, go back in your basement. Join Joe Biden, because this is ridiculous to say these things and not put the correlation together that if you allow lawlessness, if you don't condemn lawlessness, if you don't promote law and order, you're going to get anarchy. And that's exactly what's happening. So folks, that's our great segue. Chris, don't call me Fredo Cuomo is a perfect segue to ask this question of all those on the left. Do you have a relaxed brain?
I got what you call a relaxed brain.
All right, first we have New York Mayor Bill de Blasio, who's not even being subtle about his coronavirus policies, the hypocrisy. He's not even being subtle about it. Those in the media have condemned President Trump for holding a rally. Yet protests and rioters and looters, they ran amok. And then all of a sudden we see this spike in cases, spike in hospitalizations as the media is reporting. They don't correlate that to all this protest in city after city, mass gatherings, but they criticize President Trump for it. Well, Bill de Blasio says, hey, I'm not going to make any bones about it. He announced a new policy shutting down major gatherings, people getting together all the way until September, with one exception. Mayor Bill de Blasio is permitting Black Lives Matter protesters to continue marching through city streets while canceling all large events through September. Speaking on CNN Thursday night, de Blasio said that demonstrators' calls for social justice were too important to stop after more than a month of demonstrations have not led to an outbreak of coronavirus cases. This is a historic moment of change. We have to respect that, but also say to people, the kinds of gatherings we're used to, the parades, the fairs, we can't have that while we're focusing on health right now, de Blasio told host Wolf Blitzer. Wow. I haven't heard anything so outrageous. Focusing on health, he just admitted that they don't care about health. You don't care about public health if you're going to allow 15,000 plus people to gather together all in the name of a protest. And it shows that the left only cares about promoting an agenda. In this case, it's about the lockdowns. We have to live in fear. We have to stay locked down so we can't enjoy our happiness. We cannot pursue happiness. The only thing we can do, though, is protest. Protest Trump, protest social injustice, protest all the bogus claims that Black Lives Matter say they represent. You can do that. It's just outrageous. So next I want to talk about Penn State, because they put a tweet out there welcoming people to their school. Please come to their school. It was all about diversity and inclusion. Well, guess what? They had to pull the tweet down because apparently it was a little too inclusive for the socially woke out there. And here's the report. Penn State has deleted a controversial tweet that declared the viewpoints of conservative students matter on campus. Dear Black students, your lives matter, the image stated. Dear Muslim and Jewish students, your beliefs are valued here. Dear conservative students, your viewpoints are important. Dear Latinx students, you will not find walls here. Dear female students, you are respected. Dear LGBTQ plus students, you are supported here. Dear international students, you are welcome. Dear all students, we are here to support and learn from one another. That was the tweet, folks, bringing everyone together because they have to hit every single group. And then the outrage came. Social media, all these people living in their mom's basement freaked out and blasted that because it included conservatives. And here's the response from the administration. Penn State Director of Strategic Communications, William Hesser Jr., told Campus Reform that the tweet was deleted because while it was meant to express the inclusive, democratic, and participatory values of the liberal arts, the message was not being received well, and it is important for us that our messages be received as intended. While we do not believe in deleting our post, given the sensitivities of the matter, we felt it was better to remove it, Mr. Hessert said. What about telling the students to grow up? What about telling them that diversity and inclusion means diversity and inclusion? Conservatives too. Conservatives are people too. Conservatives' lives matter. It's outrageous. Tell these kids to grow up and act like an administrator, act like a leader, act like a grown-up. It's just outrageous. Folks, that's our show for today. I want to invite you to tune in tomorrow for our Saturday live stream. We're working on Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. He's going to be with us sometime, hopefully tomorrow, sometime in the future for sure. But if not, we've got great questions. We've got great discussions. Please join in 11 o'clock a.m. Central Daylight Time tomorrow. Until then, we'll see you. Please subscribe. And when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is the 13-Minute News Hour. Okay, friends, thanks so much for watching. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you'll be notified. And here's a special video just for you so you can watch even more of the 13-Minute News Hour. And don't forget to check out GOPUSA.com for the best in conservative news and commentary. We'll see you next time.